test taking is what we're going to be working on today. So I'm going to go ahead and open the toolbox for that, and I actually have it open. And also the academic skills plan test taking document. I have that open as well. So go ahead and click on that and get that open. And this one should say test taking. All of the templates look the same, but they have different components to them. So this one is the test taking template for the academic skills plan. And as with each of the weeks that we do have the academic skills plan, you can see the completed sample here. So if you, at this point, hopefully you've mastered completing the academic skills plan chart, but there's always a sample here to kind of walk you through the process and show you, but that's pretty much what I do as well. So in the template, we're talking about test taking skills. So here it's, for the first step, you want to write in what your current test taking problem is. And it says pick a challenge from the list on page 7B in MindTap. And remember, when we're using the MindTap link, it can be confusing because it says 7B. We're not in chapter 7, we're actually in the toolbox for active learners. So if I'm looking at the table of contents, you can see chapter 7 is here, but we're going to go after chapter 9 and go to a toolbox for active learners. And this is where you're getting all of the details for the academic skills plans. So it says go to 7B, and that's the test taking section. So I'm going to click on challenges with test taking, and then there's a list of challenges that you need to choose from what your current situation is. Just to highlight a few, I will not read all 26, but some of these, and hopefully you've opened the document and you've already began to type in your response. I have no idea how to be test smart is number 1. I don't do well on tests that are based on lectures, number 5. When I study, I feel like I know the material, but I just don't test well. That's number 9. 12 says a friend told me she had a plan for getting the most points possible in a test. I don't understand how she does it. 16, I don't do well in fill in the blank tests. There might be a type of test you don't do well in, like essays or true false. For 22, I don't do well on tests based on reading assignments. Maybe your reading comprehension is not as strong and you just don't do well when you have to read a passage and then answer questions about that passage. Number 25 says, I can never remember the formulas to solve math problems. Yeah, that's a big problem. Just maybe you have 8 formulas that you need to remember for a test. And when you go down to take the test and you sit down, you just can't remember what they are. So there are strategies to help with that as well. So pick one of these 26 strategies and you're going to fill that into step 1. What is my present situation? And then, as you've been doing for previous academic skills plans, for step 2, you're just going to describe the situation and how you would want it to be if you overcame that challenge in step 1. And then for step 3, you're going to pick an actual strategy, and that's presented in section 7C. So I'm going to go back over to the toolbox, and I'm going to go to section 7C for strategies to improve test taking skills. And on this page of strategies, the list, let me see how many they list. They give about 28 test taking strategies to help you improve your test taking scores. So read through this list. Again, I'm not going to go through each of the 28, but just to highlight a few, they always set it up as before you're taking the test, and then during the test, and then after the test. So if you're struggling and you get super nervous before you take the test and that just freaks you out and you have test anxiety, look at the before test taking section. What can you do? Positive affirmation, visualizing success, things to pretty much calm down and be comfortable, get there early, get a good seat, things like that. Those are things that you can do to help prep right before you take the test. And then during the test, if you have struggles, say, memorizing things, one of the things that if you're flipping through these strategies, you'll see one of the strategies says flip your paper over and write down all your formulas that you've been holding in your head walking in the door. go ahead and get those out of your memory. If there's dates that you remembered, or there's certain people you have to talk about, or anything that you just had to do to memorize, write those down. That way you can just focus on the test. It also takes you through strategies on how to take multiple choice questions. What are some strategies in multiple choice? Some of that can include crossing out the answers that you know that are wrong, and then focusing on the possible choices that could be correct. So reading through this, there's lots of strategies to help improve your test taking skills. And I highly recommend going through it if you really want to improve on your test scores and your test taking abilities. There are a lot of great details here that can help you. And then after the test, when you're done, what do? Some of the strategies will include going back and reviewing the answers that you missed. Go correct them, because you might have those same questions on a midterm or on a final. You definitely want to understand what you may have done wrong. Go reward yourself. You did it. Go do something great to celebrate all of your hard work. Go to your instructor for feedback. Hey, there was a certain section in the test I didn't perform well in. Can you give me some advice or information about that? And then analyze your errors. What did you do wrong? Was it a test taking error or an information error? Let's look at that and see how we can improve. So there's some strategies here to choose from for after taking the test. So on your chart, go ahead and select 2 strategies, one for this column and one for this column, and then fill them in. And then once you do that, the rest of this study skills sheet is exactly like the previous academic skills plans. You're going to start talking about it, and make sure that you include in-depth information. Don't just answer with the one quick phrase. These sections have to be completed in complete sentences, and that's in the instructions. It says make sure you write in complete sentences your responses. So use this space to write completed sentences and give details about the outcomes of using these strategies. How will you commit to using them? Explain how you plan to incorporate that strategy as you're prepping, taking, and after your test taking, what you plan to do different and what that looks like. And then with your DAPS goal, remember you need to include a date. By this time I plan to, or within the next 2 weeks, or make sure there's a date, and it's something that you can actually achieve during that time, that it's personal, it's something positive, and you're very specific. And remember, with the DAPS goals, you want to incorporate the strategy that you're using and the issue that you're trying to improve on. So if your strategy is jotting down all of the information on your test to help, because you have maybe memorized 8 formulas, you want to include that actual strategy in your DAPS goal. And you want to include why. To help me do better memorize, or with the memorized portions of my test, that's the issue. I plan to jot down my memory cues on the back of my test paper during my next test in math, to help me memorize the formulas and help to improve my math grade by the end of the semester. That's a DAPS goal. So it's detailed, it's specific, and it includes the issue and the strategy that I'm trying to solve. And then that's the last step. Are there any questions about this test taking academic skills plan?